Darkness. Echoes. A soft, mechanical hum in the bones of the fortress moon. Nothing moved inside Cell 17, not for hours, not for days. They'd stopped counting after the first rotation. He was supposed to be just a prisoner, an afterthought, a breathing trophy taken during a planetary raid near Earth's last orbital bastion. But from the moment he arrived, he unsettled them. The guards, the staff, even the med scribes with their lobotomizing diagnostic crawlers. He didn't scream, didn't ask questions, didn't demand food, didn't sleep. He just sat, cross-legged in the center of his cell, back straight, head low. His breathing was so still, they thought he might be dead, until one leaned too close to the glass and saw those eyes staring back. Not vacant, not broken, calculating, like he was waiting for something. The Zarn Dominion had interrogated hundreds of humans. Most cracked quickly. A few held out, just long enough to earn a minor commendation on some admiral's datapad. But this one had no name, just a patch burned into his black uniform. A faded sequence, H017. No matching record in the galactic registry. No comm implant, no rank insignia, just silence. Every 2 hours the guards rotated, not because of protocol, but because none of them could tolerate it longer than that. The silence. That stare. One called it human static, that feeling you get when standing too close to something that should be making noise, but isn't. Some reported headaches, others, nightmares. One soldier claimed he saw the human smiling in the dark, even when the cell lights were off. No one believed him, until he tore his own eyes out. On day 7, they sent in someone different. Commander Terex Vol Thal. Interrogation rank, Prime Overseer. 15 confirmed mental collapses under his telepathic blade, one of the few Zarn who preferred mind bursts over physical torture. He entered the cell without armor. Didn't need it. He was the weapon. The door hissed open. Thick air rolled past, and still. The human didn't move. Trex stepped forward, his hooves clanging against alloy. 7 limbs folded neatly behind his back. His psychic nodes pulsed with a faint violet glow. He studied the creature in front of him, pale, hair cropped short, face unreadable, not blinking. "You haven't spoken," he said, voice calm, measured. "I expected resistance, emotion, perhaps even arrogance, but this," he leaned closer, "is almost insulting." The human said nothing. Trex smiled, or the Zarn version of it, mandibles clacking, tendrils flexing. "Very well," he said, and activated his psi-spike. A burst of violet energy hit the human's cerebral cortex, 1,000 alien whispers, false memories, pain triggers, mental noise, calibrated to collapse the strongest of wills. Terex waited for the reaction. He waited for the screaming, but instead, the human blinked, once, slowly, and then spoke, a single word, low, flat, almost amused. "Boom." Trex stiffened. "What?" Another blink, eyes now locked. "Boom," the human said again, and smiled. Then the power died. The entire facility plunged into darkness. Screams erupted beyond the walls. Red emergency strobes cast everything in a rhythmic, blood-lit haze. Terex stepped back, his neural comm dead, EMP interference, localized, too precise to be an accident. "Guards!" he barked. No response. He turned. The hallway was empty. Even the sentries were gone. He turned back, and the human was standing. Not slouched, not tired, straight-backed, calm, ready. Terex's instincts flared. He reached for his sidearm. Too late. One movement, a blur. Human limbs, so inefficient in theory, moved like liquid death. Fist, neck, crack. Terex dropped, instantly, twitched once, and died. Just like that. No fight, no drama. Execution. Now the human stood alone in Cell 17, looking down at the alien's twitching body. He flexed his fingers once, then reached into the corpse's armor, pulled something small and circular. A spike key. Command access. He stepped into the hallway. Turrets dropped from the ceiling. Targeting systems acquired him in milliseconds. He didn't run. He walked. 2 shots fired. He ducked, twisted, let the bolts sizzle into the walls. Another guard appeared. He ripped the weapon from his hands, broke the alien's wrist on the way out. Disarmed, disabled, silenced. A dance. Nothing wasted. Every motion practiced. He was inside their war machine now, inside the moon, the heart of the Dominion's weapons manufacturing network, every corridor a vein, every control room an artery, and he was the knife. He reached an operations junction, lifted the spike key, plugged it in, door hissed open. Inside, a command core, unattended, unguarded. He tapped the interface, once, twice, codes entered, access unlocked, factory override engaged. Somewhere deep in the facility, storage bay doors opened, security protocols failed, heat signatures ignited across every level. Dozens of drones, human-made, awakened, buried in shipment crates, smuggled piece by piece over months, now whole, now angry. Back in Cell 17's hallway, the lights flickered one final time. An alert blared overhead. Weaponized incursion detected. Full lockdown initiated. But it was already too late. The war moon was compromised, their defenses hijacked, their systems rewriting themselves, and at the center of it all was him. The only human they ever captured, and he had never planned to leave, not without finishing the job. Lights were dying, not flickering, not malfunctioning, dying. Across the moon's primary control decks, illumination collapsed like dominoes. First the medical wing, then the subdeck prisons, then the weapons array, all going dark in sequence, like something was moving through them, one floor at a time, or someone. Emergency klaxons rang loud, but even they seemed confused. The Dominion systems were ancient, aggressive, and hard-coded for chaos containment. Not this, not a ghost in their wires, not a human. Their protocols weren't trained for silent predators, only for panicked prisoners. Commander Alrex of the 4th Watch stood frozen in the central atrium. He'd reviewed the blueprints, memorized the evacuation grids. He knew this moon, and yet, he had no idea where to run. The enemy had no signal, no heartbeat, no heat trail, just bodies and darkness. Alrex watched the feed from Sector 7 collapse into static. 2 guards, both gone in under 4 seconds. No gunfire, no sound, just a blur, a flicker in the corner of the cam. Then nothing. He was coming up, floor by floor. Back in Control Core Delta, the Dominion's central AI stuttered, tried to reboot its Guardian protocols, but something was overriding it. Manual code. From inside the fortress, a language it didn't recognize, but couldn't block. And somewhere deep in the cryptic binary logs, a phrase kept appearing. Mirror Ghost, Protocol Awakened. No Dominion translator could explain it, because it wasn't Dominion. It was Earthborn. In the lower hangars, chaos had erupted. Aliens screamed across open bays. Fire suppression bots battled chemical fires. Sparks flew from ruptured panels. In the middle of it all, a storage pod hissed open. Out stepped a humanoid unit, covered in black alloy, eyes glowing blue, shoulder plating marked with ancient Terran script, SCP-17B//Proxima unit. Then another pod opened, and another, and another. 25 human-made stealth assault drones walked out of the flames. Silent, deliberate. They didn't speak, they didn't hesitate, they just moved. Uplinked to a signal source, only one person on the moon was broadcasting. One prisoner, one operator. The man in Cell 17. Alrex barked into his comms. Containment teams to Level 3. Repeat, Level 3. He's... Click. Static. Nothing. His eyes darted up to the vid wall. All feeds dead. Except one. A black and white camera. Cell 17 hallway. And walking straight toward the lens was him. Face calm. Not angry. Not triumphant, just measured, like he knew every step before it happened. Then he looked into the camera and tilted his head, slightly, like he was listening. The camera died. Alrex turned to run. Boom! The doors to the command spire blew inward. Shrapnel sprayed across the ops floor. Several Zarn officers went down screaming. Alrex dove behind a console, gripped his plasma rifle. Too late. From the smoke, they emerged. Not just drones. Him. He walked ahead of them, unarmed, no armor, and still, the most dangerous thing in the room. Alrex shouted, "Fire! Fire now!" The soldiers obeyed. Plasma bolts ripped through the air, but none found him. The drones intercepted every shot, returning fire with precise, lethal counters. One soldier fell, then another, then 5. The human moved through them like a phantom, low, fast, all motion, no waste. He dropped into a slide, snatched a weapon mid-spin, fired twice, 2 Zarn down, every movement choreographed. This wasn't escape, this was choreography, a perfect, lethal ballet. Alrex crawled backwards. Who are you?" he screamed. The human didn't respond, just walked past the corpses, then paused, looked down at Alrex, bent slightly, and said, very quietly, "I'm the last voice your war will ever hear." Then he pressed a detonator. From deep beneath the moon's crust, charges placed years ago by human saboteurs finally came online. The core shook. A vibration felt through every corridor. The moon was unraveling. The human turned. His drones fell in behind him. He didn't look back. Didn't need to. He'd done what he came for. He wasn't a prisoner. He never had been. He was the virus. And the infection was now complete. Scene fades as explosions ripple behind him. They thought they'd buried it, locked it away in the blackest archive vaults across the galaxy. Project MIRROR. Not a weapon. Not really. A doctrine. A philosophy. Let them think they won. That was the motto. It was never about surviving the war. It was about ending it right. From inside. The human didn't run. Didn't hide. He broadcasted. His vitals. His comms signature. His voice. Now that the facility was in ruins, the Dominion would come. They had to. They needed to contain him. Understand him. Because if a single human could reduce a moon fortress to fire and echoes, what could 100 do? Or 1,000? Across the void, the Dominion's nearest warship turned. The Vrizak Nullifex, 50 kilometers long, home to 2 dreadnought cannons and an elite crew of 8,000. Admiral Sothvaka Kra stood on the observation bridge, watching the burning moon spin beneath him. He stared into the transmission feed. One signal. No encryption. Just one voice. It played in an endless loop. "You built cages out of planets. We turned those cages into launch pads." Soth's clawed fingers gripped the railing. Hard. The voice sounded calm. Too calm. Like it had all gone according to plan. "Lock tractor beams on Sector 7, he ordered. "Deploy a containment team. I want that human in stasis within the hour." But deep down, he already knew. It wouldn't be that simple. Nothing ever was with humans. Back on the surface, he moved like gravity answered to him. He had no name, not anymore. His birth records had been purged, his DNA untraceable. He was not a man. He was an echo, a reflection of everything the Dominion feared about Earth. Unreason, resilience, revenge. Inside the communications core, he knelt beside a scorched terminal, connected a spike module. Data surged, not to him, but from him. Protocols unfolded, viruses written in ancient Terran code launched themselves through the Dominion's hyperspace network, silently, surgically, lethally. One by one, star systems began receiving strange pings, reactivated subroutines, codes buried under black site satellites. Back doors only Earth's last agents knew. In the jungles of Viron 5, an ancient listening tower blinked awake. In the gravity well of Juna, a stealth fleet began moving, autonomously. And on Earth itself, buried beneath the last cratered city, a cold engine began to hum. MIRROR was no longer theory, no longer buried. It was breathing, growing, coming online. The man in the black suit stood in the center of the relay chamber. His drone escorts circled outward, scanning, projecting fields. Time was short. He removed the final failsafe core from his chest harness, a crystalline shard wrapped in Terran steel, inserted it into the terminal, and whispered, "Finish it." Suddenly, the skies above shattered into lightning. The Vryzak nulleffects had arrived. They didn't send a warning, just fire. A spear of purple-white plasma roared down, an orbital lance, enough to vaporize half the hemisphere. The man didn't flinch. His system had predicted it. Mirror was predictive, adaptive. The relay shield snapped up in 0.3 seconds, absorbed the lance, redirected the energy, into the sky, into the ship. Alarms screamed aboard the nulleffects. Soth barked, "Evasive! Vent the core!" Too late. A feedback burst shattered the forward reactors. Explosions chain-reacted across the hull, and for the second time in one day, the Dominion lost a fortress, this time in orbit. On the moon's surface, the man stood alone in the ruin. His voice came through the ash. 2 nodes down, 4 remain. The mirror only needs 1 to reflect the truth. He turned, walked toward the edge of the blast crater, his eyes locked on the horizon, and he whispered, "You taught us to survive. We learned how to win." They thought he was alone, but humans never send just one, not without a reason, not without a plan. He wasn't a prisoner, he was a spark, and the galaxy had been soaked in fuel for centuries. The mirror protocol had 4 reflection nodes, scattered across the old war fronts. 2 were now active. The third was awakening, and the last one? That one wasn't in a place, it was in a person. Across the stars, in a quarantined system long thought to be dead. A planet stirred. It was called Vir Ruin by the Dominion, classified as inhospitable, declared barren after the wars. But the truth? It had been sleeping, like a heartbeat beneath the ice, waiting for one signal, one voice. The human stood on a high ridge, black cloak snapping in the wind. Below him, Dominion forces scrambled, scrapping together last-ditch defenses around the uplink towers. They didn't know what was coming. They still thought this was a rescue op, that he'd triggered a trap. But they were wrong. He was the trap. And this was the moment humanity stopped hiding. The voice came again. This time not from his lips, but from a satellite dish long buried under Dominion concrete. Old tech. Terran. Still working. Node 3 online. Mirror reflections aligned. Final light. Preparing to strike. Above the planet, something emerged from the void. Black. Massive. Silent. It had no Dominion signature. No readable drive field. It was human. But not like anything the galaxy remembered. It was the Mirror Fleet. 13 ships, each cloaked in radar-absorbing alloy, each armed with weapons that had only ever existed in theory. Quantum railcasters, zero-delay displacement torpedoes, drone-forged adaptive AI commanders. But most terrifying of all, not one of them had a bridge, no captains, no officers, no chains of command. Because these weren't warships. They were memories given mass, carrying out the last will of a species pushed to extinction, and now stepping back into the stars. On the ground, the Dominion scrambled. "Contact in orbit." "Unknown if. No response. Jump drives unresponsive. We're being jammed." They were trying to fight the future with the past. They had no chance. The Mirror Fleet opened fire. No warning, no posturing, just execution. Each railcaster fired in absolute silence. Towers vaporized, transports shredded in midair, Shield generators collapsed under coordinated strikes. In the chaos, the human moved like a phantom, through bunkers, past craters. He was going somewhere, specific, through a Dominion gatehouse, down a blood-slick hall, until he reached it, the reflection chamber, old earth glass, unshattered, mounted in steel grown cold with time. He stared at his own face, scarred, eyes lined with years, but calm, resolved. Behind him, explosions rocked the chamber, but he just watched himself. Then, he placed his palm on the glass, whispered, "We came to the stars with hope. You gave us fear instead, so we became what you feared." Behind the glass, the reflection moved first. Not a mirror, a window. The final node wasn't here. It was there, on the other side of that impossible glass. Another version of him. A backup, a clone, a soldier. Number A, twin spark, bred for the last phase. It stepped forward, human, but not just human, more. Mirror was not a single agent. It was a lineage, and now the other half had awakened. He stepped through the glass. Two of them now. The reflection and the man. One burned, the other frozen steel. Both were born from the fall of Earth, and both would finish what their kind started. Outside, the Dominion's last dreadnought screamed through the clouds, firing everything, a wall of plasma and flak. But the twin humans moved in perfect sync. Drones folded into formation. Orbital defenses collapsed like paper. And one by one, the sky fell. At last, when the last enemy ship fled or died, when the comms went silent, when the burning stopped, they stood atop the ruined spire together, looking out. Two shadows, one will, and behind them, the mirror fleet drifted silently, awaiting command. The older human looked to the younger. "They'll rebuild. Come back." The younger nodded. "Then we wait, not in fear. In orbit." He tapped the side of his helmet. A beacon lit, one that hadn't blinked in over 50 years. Earth online awaiting return. And as the stars shimmered above them, as the galaxy tried to make sense of the silence that followed, one final broadcast went out. "We are humanity. The reflection of your cruelty, the reminder of your mistake. We were quiet once. Never again."